The sky over Nova Aegis shimmered with a soft golden light. It was a rare calm morning on the distant human colony, where the wind swept over jagged plains and the sun reflected off the silver domes of their settlements. Life was hard on Nova Aegis, but humans had adapted. They built homes that could survive the harsh storms, farms that could grow food even in rocky soil, and machines that could extract water from the air. It was a tough life, but it was theirs, and they cherished. Among the settlers, Commander Lyra Kane walked through the central plaza, her boots crunching against the gravel paths. She was a veteran of interstellar exploration missions, sent to help Nova Aegis establish its defenses. She paused near the marketplace where children played, their laughter echoing across the open fields. Seeing humans laughing freely in a corner of the galaxy brought a rare smile to her face. Suddenly, a deep hum filled the air. At first, it was faint, almost like the wind carrying a strange sound, but it grew louder, deeper, shaking the domes and rattling the windows. Farmers abandoned their carts, children froze. Lyra's hand instinctively went to her sidearm. Above the horizon, ships appeared, thousands of them, black and jagged, cutting through the sky like living shadows. The Zarvok had arrived. The Zarvok were nothing like humans. They were taller, with chitinous skin that reflected light and multiple limbs tipped with sharp claws. Their faces were angular, almost insect-like, with eyes that glowed like molten gold. But what made them truly terrifying was their reputation. Wherever the Zarvok went, death followed. Humanity had heard stories, but seeing it in person made the stories pale in comparison. "Everyone to shelters, now!" Lyra shouted, her voice carrying over the panic. She sprinted toward the command center, her communicator crackling as she called for reinforcements. The first wave of Zarvok strikes hit like lightning. Energy beams tore through buildings. Explosions sent plumes of dust and fire into the sky, and screams of fear filled the air. Nova Aegis's defenses, primitive compared to the alien technology, barely managed to respond. Missile turrets fired, only to be cut down by the Zarvok's swift drones. In the chaos, Lyra saw families running, clutching children, trying to escape the advancing death. Her heart ached, but there was no time to mourn. She led a squad of volunteers toward the central command dome, dodging falling debris and streams of energy. Inside the command center, alarms blared. Holoscreens flashed red, showing a live feed of the devastation outside. Nova Aegis was being destroyed, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. "This is Commander Kane." "Report," Lyra barked. Lieutenant Rawl, a young officer, barely 20, turned to her. "Shields are failing on sectors 3 and 7. The drones, they're bypassing all defenses. We can't hold them." His voice trembled. Lyra clenched her fists. "Then we don't hold. We survive. Evacuate civilians to the bunkers. Prepare to transmit the distress signals. And do what you can to slow them down." Outside, the sky burned. The Zarvok ships moved like a storm, dropping bombs that tore through the colony's infrastructure. Lyra watched as her home, the marketplace, the farms, the community buildings, was reduced to rubble. She saw people she had grown close to, friends, neighbors, being swept away in the carnage. But even as fear gnawed at her heart, something deep inside her flared with defiance. Humans had always been underestimated. They were called fragile, weak and slow. But humans survived deserts, storms, plagues, and wars. And if anyone thought they could annihilate an entire colony without consequence, they were about to learn their first mistake. A shrill alarm cut through the chaos. The Zarvok Supreme Commander had landed, an enormous figure towering over the battlefield, its armor gleaming like black glass. It raised a clawed hand, and a wave of energy rippled outward, knocking humans off their feet, destroying barricades, and sending shouts of terror echoing through the smoke-filled streets. From the command center, Lyra watched the Supreme Commander. Its glowing eyes scanned the colony like a predator seeking prey. She swallowed hard. Even in the face of such horror, she felt a surge of determination. "Elias Vance," she whispered into her communicator. "We need you now. The colony, It's under attack. Send the fleet. Send anyone you can. Far across the galaxy, in orbit above Earth, Commander Elias Vance was reviewing routine patrol logs. He had faced many threats before, but the distress call from Nova Aegis cut through the routine with a sharp urgency. His pulse quickened. He had known the humans in the outer colonies were isolated but never truly alone. They had each other, and they had defenders like him. Nova Aegis, he muttered. He accessed the encrypted distress transmission. Images flickered on his console. Exploding domes, humans running through fire, Zarvok ships tearing across the sky. His jaw tightened. They think they can destroy us, he said, more to himself than anyone else. They're about to find out the first mistake they ever made. Back on Nova Aegis, Lyra rallied the remaining defenders. Using improvised barriers, scorched terrain, and guerrilla tactics, they managed to slow the Zarvok advance. Small explosions and ambushes took down drones, giving civilians precious seconds to escape. But it was not enough. The Zarvok were relentless, adaptive and horrifyingly fast. Amid the chaos, a young boy named Terran crawled out from under debris, clutching a broken toy. Lyra scooped him up, scanning the horizon for any signs of safe passage. Smoke and fire painted the sky red, and ash fell like snow over the ruins of their once thriving colony. Lyra led survivors to the bunkers, underground shelters built for emergencies. She sent the final distress signals into space, a desperate plea for help. If anyone can hear this, she spoke into the recorder, her voice steady despite the fear. Nova Aegis is under attack by the Zarvok. All defenses are failing. Please, help us. Humanity will not fall quietly. Even as the bunkers filled, the Supreme Commander approached the central plaza, crushing everything in its path. It surveyed the remaining defenders, a cruel smile forming in its alien mind. It had won, or so it believed, but the humans did not despair. In the shadows, small groups organized, creating improvised weapons and traps. One engineer rigged a plasma cannon from a mining laser. Farmers grabbed tools and converted them into weapons. Fear did not break them, it fueled them. Humans fought, back, even in the face of certain death. Lyra and her squad struck at the Supreme Commander's flank, luring its drones into traps. Explosions rocked the ground, and the creature hissed in anger. It was not used to being resisted, to being challenged. Every human they killed, every device they destroyed, it frustrated the Zarvok beyond reason. High above, Elias Vance watched through orbital sensors. His fleet was light years away, but he already formulated a plan. The Zarvok had made a critical mistake. They believed that humans could be eradicated without consequence, that arrogance would be their undoing. As night fell over Nova Aegis, the colony was in ruins, but a flicker of hope remained. Fires burned, but so did the determination of the survivors. The humans had lost their homes, but not their spirit, and in the darkest hour that spirit shone brighter than any weapon. Commander Lyra Kane looked over the battered group of survivors, her eyes burning with resolve. "They think this is the end," she said. "They think they've won, but they've only lit a fire, and they will regret it." Above the planet, the stars twinkled, indifferent to the struggle below. But in the hearts of humans, a storm was forming, a storm of vengeance, courage, and unbreakable will. The first chapter of humanity's retaliation had begun, and the Zarvok had no idea what awaited them. Far from the burning plains of Nova Aegis in the orbit above Earth, Commander Elias Vance studied the distress transmissions. The images of the shattered colony haunted him. Domes reduced to rubble, humans fleeing through fire, and the Zarvok, Supreme Commander, striding across the streets with terrifying confidence. Elias leaned back in his chair, his jaw tight. He had faced threats before, rogue warlords, pirate fleets, even hostile alien species in isolated skirmishes. But nothing like this. Nothing had been as cruel, as efficient, as utterly merciless. And yet, he felt something stir inside him. "They think humans are weak," he muttered to himself. "They think we'll break." No, humans did not break. Humans adapted, humans fought, and humanity would rise again. He tapped a series of commands into the console, opening secure communication, channels to Earth's Defense Council. Alarms and alerts flared across the room as the council members' faces appeared in holograms. The humans who governed the planet's fleets looked concerned, some even doubtful. "Commander Vance," said Admiral Reyes, her tone calm but skeptical, "we've received your transmission. But are you certain about this? The Zarvok are formidable. Their technology surpasses ours by decades. They destroyed Nova Aegis with ease." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Yes, they are strong, but strength is not everything. They are arrogant. They underestimate humans. That is their weakness." There was a pause. Then a younger officer spoke up. "We can't send the fleet across light years for a single colony. The cost, the risk." Elias slammed his fist on the console. "It's not about a single colony. It's about proving that humans will not be destroyed quietly, that every attack has consequences. If we do nothing, they will strike again, and the next time, it will be even worse." His words carried weight. Slowly, the council members' expressions shifted from doubt to contemplation. Elias was not asking for fearlessly reckless action. He was offering a plan, one that leveraged human ingenuity, teamwork, and adaptability. By the end of the day, the decision was made. Earth's fleet would mobilize. Every ship capable of interstellar travel would be retrofitted, upgraded, and armed for the offensive. The call went out to human colonies across nearby star systems. Rally, join, fight, survive. Recruiting the people, Elias traveled to key colonies to recruit volunteers. On Ganymede, frozen fields sparkled under dim sunlight. On Titan, vast methane lakes reflected human settlements clinging to the rocks. Wherever he went, he found the same thing. Humans ready to defend themselves, ready to fight, ready to reclaim honor. Among them were miners who had faced deadly storms, engineers who had built machines from scrap, and young cadets eager for their first real battle. Elias spoke to each group not as soldiers or subordinates, but as equals. "You have seen what they did to Nova Aegis," he said to a group on Titan. "They think we are weak, that we will run, cower, and die quietly. We will show them they were wrong. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not fear. Humanity adapts, and humanity strikes back." Murmurs of agreement rose, eyes hardened with determination. Across every colony, the same resolve sparked like fire. The humans were not just preparing to fight, they were preparing to win no matter the odds, preparing the vengeance. Armada Earth's engineers and strategists worked around the clock. Old ships were retrofitted with experimental weapons, cloaking devices, and adaptive shields. Scientists developed ion disruption cannons to disable Zarvok drones and plasma traps to collapse alien hulls from the inside. Elias walked among the shipyards, inspecting progress. He marveled at the human ability to turn ordinary materials into extraordinary weapons. While the Zarvok relied on raw strength and advanced tech, humans relied on creativity, strategy, and unpredictability. He visited the simulation room where cadets trained for space combat. Holoscreens projected Zarvok formations, and humans practiced evasive maneuvers, coordinated strikes, and counterattacks. One cadet, barely 16, executed a perfect flanking maneuver in the simulation, forcing a group of instructors to nod in approval. "These humans are clever," Elias said quietly, watching the simulation. "They learn, they adapt, they survive." Human ingenuity at work on Nova Aegis. Survivors scavenged what remained. Lyra Kane led a small team building improvised defenses from the rubble. Every piece of metal, every scrap of machinery, every sensor they could find was repurposed. They rigged traps, camouflaged positions, and built mobile defenses that could strike at the Zarvok should they return. Even the children contributed. Taryn, the boy who had survived the first attack, helped map escape routes and monitor sensors. The humans on the ground were becoming resilient, resourceful, and fearless. Elias communicated with Lyra frequently. Every message from her was both a report and a reminder of why humanity had to fight. "They think they've won," she said once, voice steady despite the destruction around her. "But we're still here. We've survived. And when you come, we will be ready." Elias smiled grimly. "That's all I need to hear." Training and strategy. The fleet's training was intense. Humans practiced synchronized attacks, coordinated maneuvers, and contingency strategies. Unlike the Zarvok, humans could improvise mid-battle, adjusting tactics on the fly. Elias emphasized the importance of teamwork. "We are not just ships or soldiers," he told his officers. "We are a unified force. Every decision, every maneuver, every strike counts. Remember, they may be stronger, faster, and more advanced, but we are humans, and humans never quit." The cadets learned to use the terrain of space to their advantage, hiding in asteroid belts, using gravitational fields to accelerate attacks, and deploying decoys that tricked the Zarvok sensors. Engineers developed AI-assisted targeting systems that could learn enemy patterns mid-battle. Every night, Elias reviewed reports, checked the status of the fleet, and monitored distant colonies. He saw progress and resilience in every corner of humanity. The Zarvok might have crushed one colony, but humans were preparing a force the universe had never seen. The human spirit shines. Amid the preparations, human culture thrived. Musicians composed songs of defiance, storytellers recorded the heroism of Nova Aegis survivors, and families reunited on safe colonies. Humanity was not just preparing for war, they were preserving what made them human: courage, hope, and connection. Even in the face of fear, laughter returned. Engineers joked while retrofitting weapons. Cadets competed in simulations, teasing each other and celebrating small victories. Lyra Kane sent updates of her group's progress, showing ingenuity, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of the survivors. Elias observed all of this and felt a quiet pride. "They may have thought they could destroy us," he whispered. "But they only reminded us what it means to fight, to survive, and to strike back." The Armada takes shape. After months of preparation, the Vengeance Armada was ready. Hundreds of ships, each retrofitted and armed with experimental technology, formed a fleet that stretched across the orbit of Earth. Each ship carried soldiers, engineers, and pilots who had trained for the ultimate confrontation. Elias walked along the command bridge of the flagship. Holoscreens displayed the fleet formations, the nearest Zarvok sectors, and simulations of attack patterns. Every officer, cadet, and crew member stood at attention, their faces set with determination. "We are ready," Elias said, voice carrying over the bridge. The Zarvok destroyed a colony and thought humanity would crumble. They made their first mistake. Soon they will realize that attacking humans comes with a price they cannot imagine. Outside, the stars twinkled. The Vengeance Armada would descend upon Zarvok space, striking with precision, cunning, and unyielding human spirit. And far across the galaxy, the survivors of Nova Aegis waited. They would see the revenge of humanity firsthand. Elias Vance looked at the stars, his eyes burning with resolve. "Let them come," he whispered. "We are ready. Humanity will not fall. Humanity will fight. Humanity will win." The first wave of humans was ready, but the war had only just begun. The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly as the Vengeance Armada approached Zarvok territory. The stars blinked faintly against the void, indifferent to the coming storm. On board the flagship, Commander Elias Vance stood before a massive holoscreen, watching the Zarvok home systems map out in ghostly green and red. "Status report," he called. His voice carried calm authority, cutting through the low hum of engines and distant chatter. Lieutenant Aaron, the tactical officer, adjusted the display. "All ships are in formation, Commander. Cloaking units online, ion disruption cannons charged. Scouts report no immediate enemy contact, but sensors indicate patrols along the outer sectors." Elias nodded. "Good. Remember, we are not here to die. We are here to strike smart. The Zarvok may be stronger, but humans are clever. They will never see us coming until it is too late." The ambush in the first target sector, a cluster of Zarvok supply vessels moved between asteroid belts. They were massive, heavily armed, and arrogant in their slow, methodical pace. The humans waited, hidden in the shadows of the asteroids. "Initiate cloaking," Elias ordered. The fleet shimmered and disappeared against the backdrop of the void. A quiet tension filled the command deck. Every officer, every crew member, knew that the coming strike would test their skill, courage, and ingenuity. "Scouts report minimal movement," Lieutenant Aaron said. "We have a window." Elias leaned forward. "Then we take it. Release the drones." Tiny autonomous drones, built from scavenged materials and retrofitted with plasma disruptors, shot from the lead human ship. They darted between asteroids, silent and precise, slipping past the Zarvok sensors. Then, in perfect synchronization, human ships uncloaked and opened fire. Plasma cannons cut across enemy hulls. Ion disruptors disabled shields, and missiles tore through supply lines. The Zarvok were caught off guard. Their heavy ships were slow to respond, and when they did, humans had already repositioned, using gravitational pulls from nearby asteroids to accelerate attacks and escape counterfire. "This is impossible," hissed a Zarvok officer, claws shaking as his ship's systems failed. "They adapt too quickly," Elias watched from the flagship. "This is what humans do," he said softly. "We do not surrender. We survive. We strike back." By the end of the first engagement, the Zarvok supply fleet was in flames, retreating into hyperspace. Humans had taken minimal losses and inflicted maximum damage. It was a clear statement. Humans were no longer prey. They were hunters. The psychological edge, the Zarvok Supreme Commander, monitoring from its Dark Command Citadel, was furious. It had underestimated humans, assuming that destroying Nova Aegis would leave them terrified and scattered. Instead, reports poured in of a massive fleet moving strategically through Zarvok space, striking swiftly and retreating just as quickly. "They are different," one subordinate stammered. "We expected fear. We expected surrender. They fight with purpose. They plan. They adapt," the Supreme Commander hissed, its golden eyes narrowing. "Then they will learn fear." But the humans had already begun to exploit Zarvok arrogance. Every trap, every strike, and every ambush relied on understanding how the aliens expected humans to behave, and doing the exact opposite. Elias reviewed a battle simulation with his officers. "The Zarvok are strong and proud. They think their weapons make them invincible. But pride blinds them. They underestimate our speed, our cunning, and our unpredictability. We do not fight like them. We fight like humans, and that makes all the difference." Ground operations. While the fleet engaged in orbital strikes, ground teams performed surgical attacks on Zarvok-controlled planets. Nova Aegis survivors like Lyra Kane led squads that moved swiftly and silently, sabotaging Zarvok installations, gathering intelligence, and rescuing captured humans. Using improvised weapons, camouflaged vehicles, and human creativity, they turned small engagements into victories. One squad used mining lasers to cut through Zarvok armor plating, setting traps that detonated when the aliens approached. Another group hacked energy grids, plunging Zarvok stations into darkness and confusion. Even on unfamiliar worlds, humans adapted. They learned alien tactics and turned them against the enemy. Every small victory sent a ripple through Zarvok ranks, shaking their confidence and morale. "Human ingenuity is astonishing," said Lieutenant Rawl, observing one of Lyra's teams. "They are not soldiers. They are survivors. They are unstoppable." Lyra, crouched behind debris with her squad, smiled grimly. "Humans survive first, fight second. That's why they never truly know what hit them." Surprise counterattacks. Elias orchestrated a series of attacks designed to confuse and terrorize the Zarvok. Fleets would appear from unexpected directions, strike swiftly, and vanish before the aliens could respond. Coordinated attacks on multiple fronts created chaos, forcing the Zarvok to divert ships from other missions and weakening their control over outer territories. In one daring maneuver, A squadron of human fighters lured a group of Zarvok warships into an asteroid field. Using gravitational slingshots in the terrain, they disabled multiple ships while escaping with no losses. The Zarvok, unaccustomed to such tactics, began to retreat from sectors they had once considered secure. Elias's tactical genius became legendary among his fleet. His strategy relied on predicting enemy expectations and exploiting them, a skill humans excelled at because of their creativity and adaptability. The cost of courage, even as the humans celebrated victories, losses were inevitable. Brave officers, young cadets, and experienced pilots fell in battle. Elias walked among the wounded and the grieving, offering words of encouragement, but knowing that each sacrifice strengthened humanity's resolve. On board a damaged frigate, a young pilot whispered, We can't keep losing like this." Elias knelt beside him. "You are not losing. Every ship we save, every enemy we disable, every survivor we protect. These are victories. Humans fight not because we are perfect, but because we never give up. Remember that. Always." The pilot nodded, tears in his eyes, understanding that the human spirit was stronger than any weapon or technology. A shocking discovery. During a recon mission, human scouts discovered something unexpected: a Zarvok research facility experimenting on captured humans. The aliens had been studying human behavior, trying to find weaknesses. Instead, they revealed a pattern. Their overconfidence was their greatest flaw. Elias analyzed the data. "They study us, yet they cannot understand us," he said. "We are unpredictable. We adapt. They cannot plan for human courage." This knowledge emboldened the fleet. Knowing the enemy's arrogance could be used against them, Elias devised even bolder strikes, attacks that would penetrate the Zarvok's core systems and shake the Empire from within. The first true test after weeks of guerrilla-style attacks and surgical strikes, the fleet reached a major Zarvok outpost. It was heavily defended, a critical supply hub for the alien empire. Many believed it was too dangerous to attack. Elias gathered his officers. "This is our chance to show them what humans can do. Strike hard, strike smart, and strike together. We are not just fighting for Nova Aegis. We are fighting for every human who has ever been underestimated, ignored, or declared weak. Show them the price of underestimating humanity." The attack began at dawn, from multiple vectors. Human ships used decoys, cloaking devices, and rapid-fire cannons to disable Zarvok defenses. Ground teams infiltrated the planet, sabotaging energy cores and communications. The Zarvok fought fiercely, but humans were relentless, resourceful, and fearless. By nightfall, the outpost was in flames. Humans had won a decisive victory, sending a clear message across Zarvok space. Humanity was not to be trifled with. Elias watched from his flagship, exhausted but satisfied. "They thought they could destroy a colony and get away with it," he murmured. "They made their first mistake, and they are about to learn another." A glimmer of hope far away, the survivors of Nova Aegis received news of the first strikes. Lyra Kane allowed herself a rare moment of relief. Humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. Children cheered. Engineers celebrated small victories. Families once scattered and fearful felt hope returning. Even in the darkness of the destroyed colony, a spark of light shone, a light of vengeance, courage, and survival. The Zarvok would soon discover that humans did not cower. They adapted, they fought, and they would not stop. Every victory, every clever tactic, every human life preserved was a step toward reclaiming the galaxy. And above all, one truth rang clear. Attacking a human colony was the Zarvok's first mistake. Their second mistake was thinking humans would run. Word count. Honor find a way. The Vengeance Armada had carved a path of destruction across Zarvok space. Supply lines were severed, outposts obliterated, and the once unstoppable alien forces were shaken. But Elias Vance knew the hardest part lay ahead, striking at the heart of the enemy. The Supreme Commander's fortress world, Zarvok Prime, loomed ahead, a massive planet encased in defensive satellites, plasma shields, and patrolling warships. It was the nerve center of the Zarvok Empire. Every sensor spike, every energy wave screamed danger. One wrong move, and the fleet could be annihilated. Yet Elias stood firm on the bridge of the flagship. "This is it," he said to his officers. "All our planning, all our training, all our sacrifices, they lead here. Today we show the Zarvok what it means to underestimate humanity." Infiltration and strategy. Elias divided the forces into two groups. The main fleet would engage the outer defenses, drawing the attention of Zarvok ships, while special strike teams would infiltrate the planet's surface. Lyra Kane, now a seasoned leader hardened by the devastation of Nova Aegis, led one such team. Alongside her were survivors who had learned to fight, improvise, and survive against the most impossible odds. Engineers, ex-military, and even miners armed with makeshift weapons now formed a human strike force capable of infiltrating enemy territory. The fleet approached Zarvok Prime with precision. Cloaking devices shimmered in the void, hiding human ships from patrolling sensors. Mines were set along patrol routes, ready to explode at the perfect moment. Every human action was calculated, every movement designed to exploit Zarvok arrogance and predictability. Elias addressed his officers before the strike. "They rely on power, not cunning. They believe technology equals victory. They forget that humans think differently. We are adaptable, we improvise, and today, we strike at their heart." The outer assault, the main fleet engaged first. Ion disruptors disabled energy shields, plasma cannons tore through defensive satellites, and coordinated attacks forced Zarvok ships into chaotic retreats. The Zarvok were powerful, but humans were clever. Using asteroid fields as cover, gravitational slingshots to accelerate attacks, and decoy drones, humans minimized their losses. While maximizing damage, ships that should have been impregnable were ripped apart by ingenuity, not brute force. Elias watched the battle unfold on the bridge. "Remember," he reminded his officers, "each strike is more than destruction. It's a message. Humanity fights with intelligence, creativity, and courage. That is our true weapon." Meanwhile, ground teams prepared to deploy. Shuttles carrying strike squads descended into the atmosphere, dodging laser fire from Zarvok orbital cannons. Their objective was simple, yet deadly: infiltrate the fortress city, disable communications, sabotage energy cores, and reach the Supreme Commander. The strike on Zarvok Prime on the planet, Lyra Kane's team moved with silence and precision. The landscape was harsh, jagged black rocks, toxic clouds, and rivers of molten energy. But humans adapted. They used camouflaged exosuits, motion sensors, and makeshift grappling devices to navigate terrain Zarvok soldiers assumed they could control. Their first target was an energy node powering the planet's defensive shields. Lyra crouched beside the node, motioning her team forward. "Plant the charges quietly. Any mistake and the alarm will trigger." Explosions rang out, but they were small and controlled. Within minutes, the massive energy shield flickered, then collapsed. For the first time, the planet was vulnerable from orbit. Above, Elias saw the shield drop. "Well done," he said. "Now, we move for the final strike." Facing the Supreme Commander, sensing the breach, descended into its fortress city. Towering and menacing, it scanned the streets with molten gold eyes, claws poised to strike. It had crushed colonies before, yet humans had survived, adapted, and now dared to attack the heart of its empire. Lyra's team moved quickly, bypassing patrols and traps. The Supreme Commander's minions were strong, but humans were faster, smarter, and more unpredictable. Using guerrilla tactics, improvised weapons, and environmental advantages, they eliminated soldiers with minimal exposure. Finally, they reached the central citadel, a colossal structure of black metal and glowing red energy. Within, the Supreme Commander awaited, confident in its strength. Elias coordinated from orbit. Lyra, remember, this is about strategy as much as courage. Exploit its arrogance. Think like a human. Strike where it least expects. Lyra nodded, determination burning in her eyes. It will learn what humans are capable of. The battle inside the Citadel. The confrontation was brutal. The Supreme Commander's claws tore through walls. Its energy blasts incinerated the floor, and its armored limbs crushed anything in reach. Yet humans fought with ingenuity. Engineers improvised energy dampeners from captured tech. Soldiers used grappling hooks to swing around attacks, striking vulnerable joints. Every move the Supreme Commander made was calculated, but humans were unpredictable. Lyra's team targeted its energy conduits, destabilizing power flows. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the Supreme Commander roared in frustration. "You are persistent," it hissed, its voice metallic and chilling. "But persistence is useless." "Persistence is humanity," Lyra shot back. "And you forgot one thing. Humans never quit." Turning the enemy's strength against Etelius, watching from orbit, coordinated a simultaneous attack. Fleet ships fired precision plasma shots at key energy nodes revealed by the ground team. The combination of orbital bombardment and sabotage from inside began to overwhelm the Supreme Commander. Its shields flickered, drones malfunctioned, and communication links broke down. The Supreme Commander's arrogance had blinded it. It had never considered that a smaller, cleverer force could dismantle its empire piece by piece. Humans were not just attacking, they were outthinking it. Lyra saw an opening. Using a plasma harpoon she had rigged with improvised explosives, she struck the commander's leg joint. Sparks exploded, the creature staggered. Her team pressed the advantage, targeting critical points with coordinated precision. Above, Elias smiled grimly. "This is why humans win," he muttered. "Not with raw strength, but with heart, mind, and courage." The turning point after. A tense struggle. The Supreme Commander fell to one knee, weakened and enraged. The humans surrounded it, ready for the final strike. Lyra approached, weapon steady, and spoke clearly. "This is what happens when you underestimate humans," she said. "We survive, we adapt, we fight, and we will never stop." With coordinated effort, the team delivered the decisive blow. The Supreme Commander crashed into the Citadel, its energy core destabilized, igniting a massive explosion that shook the planet's surface. Outside, the Vengeance Armada watched as Zarvok Prime's defenses crumbled. Ships fled, communication hubs failed, and the once mighty empire staggered under the weight of human ingenuity. Victory and reflection. The humans had won, but the cost was visible. Many brave soldiers had fallen. Ships were damaged. Lyra Kane looked at her team, exhausted but triumphant. "We survived," she said. "We fought, and we proved what humanity is capable of." Elias addressed the fleet. "Today we struck the heart of the enemy and survived. But this is more than victory. This is proof. Humanity is strong, clever, and unbreakable. Any who think otherwise will face the same fate." On Nova Aegis, survivors watched transmissions of the battle. Hope surged in their hearts. Humans had not only avenged their home, they had shown the galaxy that humanity would not bow to tyranny. The Supreme Commander's fall was symbolic. It was the beginning of the end for Zarvok control over human colonies. But it was also a reminder. Humans were relentless, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The next step as Zarvok Prime burned, Elias knew the war was not yet over. The Empire was shattered, but remnants of the Zarvok fleet remained. He began planning the next phase, liberating captured human colonies, dismantling Zarvok fleets, and ensuring no corner of the galaxy remained under their tyranny. Yet for the first time, humans could fight from a position of strength. Every victory, every strategy, every human life preserved was a testament to their resilience. Lyra Kane returned to her team, looking at the horizon of a recovering planet. "They thought we would fall," she said softly, "but we are just getting started." The stars above twinkled quietly, but in the hearts of humans a storm of courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit raged on. The galaxy had witnessed the power of humanity, and it would never forget. The destruction of Zarvok Prime sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The once feared empire, proud and ruthless, was now in chaos. Reports of Zarvok fleets retreating and outposts abandoned filled the human fleet's comms. Across the stars, humanity was rising, not just to survive but to reclaim what had been taken. On the flagship of the Vengeance Armada, Commander Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, staring at the distant flames consuming the Supreme Commander's fortress world. His expression was calm, but his mind was sharp, calculating the next moves. "Sir," Lieutenant Aaron reported, "our scouts indicate multiple colonies previously under Zarvok control are still intact, but heavily monitored. Many captives remain. We can launch liberation operations immediately." Elias nodded. "Prepare the strike teams. We will move quickly and decisively. Humanity does not wait for opportunities, we create them." Liberating the colonies. The first target was a colony orbiting Vraxia Minor, a resource-rich world where humans had been enslaved for labor. When the Vengeance Armada arrived, Zarvok forces attempted to mount a defense. But humans were no longer inexperienced, disorganized victims. They were tactical, united, and relentless. Lyra Kane led a squad that deployed from orbital dropships. Using cloaked approach paths, her team neutralized surveillance drones and infiltrated the main power hub. With precision, they disabled the energy shields protecting the slave enclosures. On the ground, freed colonists emerged cautiously, eyes wide with disbelief and hope. Children who had never seen freedom ran into the arms of their rescuers. Farmers, miners, and engineers, all enslaved, now breathed the air of liberation for the first time in years. "They're here. Humans are here," whispered one freed worker, tears streaming down their face. "We thought we were lost forever." Lyra smiled, her armor scratched but her spirit unbroken. "You were never lost. Humanity never forgets its own." Tactical, brilliant Elias coordinated the larger fleet offensives from orbit. Each move was calculated to minimize casualties while maximizing disruption to Zarvok forces. Using intelligence gathered from previous battles, the human fleet predicted Zarvok reinforcements and set traps along their paths. In one daring engagement, a small squad of human frigates lured a Zarvok cruiser into an asteroid belt. Mines detonated, hulls tore apart, and the cruiser's retreat became a chaotic disaster for the surrounding Zarvok forces. "This is unbelievable," said Lieutenant Rawl, watching sensors display the destruction. "They're defeating their own best ships without even being in direct combat." Elias's lips curled into a faint smile. "They think line of sight equals power. Humans fight differently. We think, we plan, we adapt. That is how we win." Reclaiming. Nova Aegis. After liberating several colonies, the human fleet turned toward Nova Aegis, the birthplace of their vengeance campaign. The planet lay scarred from the Zarvok attack, cities reduced to rubble, farms burned, and tunnels of survivors scattered across the plains. Lyra Kane returned first, walking through the destroyed central plaza. She observed the ruins with a mix of sorrow and pride. Humans had endured unimaginable loss, yet here they stood, ready to rebuild. The survivors of Nova Aegis emerged from hiding, shielding their eyes from the bright lights of the human fleet above. Children, once terrified, ran toward familiar figures who had survived the first attack. Families reunited, tears of relief mingling with smiles of hope. This is real," whispered Terran, the boy who had survived the initial destruction. "We're safe. We're free." Lyra crouched beside him. "We fought hard for this. Humans never give up. Never forget that." The collapse of Zarvok resistance. News of the human victories spread across Zarvok-controlled territories. Fear replaced arrogance. The Zarvok, who once thought humans weak and predictable, now faced the full weight of human ingenuity, courage, and persistence. Smaller Zarvok fleets surrendered without a fight. Colonies that had been oppressed for decades celebrated their liberation. In every corner of space, humans who had once been victims now acted as heroes, engineers, tacticians, and leaders. Elias monitored the progress from the flagship. "Every liberated colony is more than a victory," he said. "It is a message. Humanity will not be crushed. Humanity will endure. And humanity will prevail." The human spirit, even amidst triumph, humans did not lose their humility. Engineers worked tirelessly to restore colonies, rebuilding homes and infrastructure. Soldiers helped clear rubble and repair essential systems. Families returned to farms and workshops, resuming life with a renewed sense of purpose. Music, laughter, and storytelling returned to liberated colonies. The tales of courage, sacrifice, and clever tactics became part of the collective memory. Humanity had fought not only with weapons but with heart, unity, and intelligence. Lyra Kane stood atop a rebuilt observation tower on Nova Aegis, watching children play in the fields once again. She felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of pride, relief, and hope. Humans had lost much, yet they had gained something far greater. Proof that no force could break the human spirit. A final confrontation. Though Zarvok Prime had fallen and colonies were liberated, pockets of resistance remained. Elias led the final fleet engagement in a massive battle over the Zarvok Home Nebula, where the remnants of their fleet attempted a desperate counterattack. Human ships moved like a single entity, coordinated perfectly. Drones, plasma beams, and cloaked fighters created a storm of destruction. Zarvok ships were outmaneuvered at every turn, falling to human strategy and unpredictable tactics. In the heart of the battle, Elias commanded the flagship with calm precision. "Focus on their command ships. Neutralize leadership first. Chaos will follow." The human fleet executed flawlessly. Zarvok leadership ships were destroyed, communications cut, and morale collapsed. The remnants fled into distant space, leaving humans in full control of the region. It was a clear, undeniable victory, a complete demonstration of human resilience and brilliance. Rebuilding and reflection weeks after the final battle, humans began rebuilding what had been lost. Nova Aegis and other colonies rose from the ashes. Farms were replanted, homes rebuilt, and schools reopened. Humanity celebrated not only survival but triumph. Elias Vance addressed representatives from liberated colonies. "Today we reclaim more than territory. We reclaim our dignity, our courage, and our pride. Humanity is stronger than any weapon, more adaptable than any threat, and braver than any fear. Let this be remembered for generations. Attacking humans is never without consequence," Lyra Kane added her voice. "We fought for our homes, our families, and our future. We fought not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. We survived, we endured, and we will continue to thrive." The legacy of humanity. Among the survivors, children like Taryn became symbols of hope and resilience. Schools taught the history of the Zarvok attacks, emphasizing the courage, creativity, and unity that saved humanity. Engineers and scientists developed new technology, not just for war but for exploration and growth. Songs were sung, stories told, and monuments built to honor the fallen and celebrate the living. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. The galaxy knew that humans were not to be underestimated. Even in distant systems, whispers spread among alien civilizations. Humans fight with intelligence, adapt with speed, and endure against all odds. The legend of the Vengeance Armada would echo for centuries, a testament to the unbreakable human spirit. A moment of peace on Nova Aegis. Under the soft golden light of a recovering sun, Lyra Kane watched children plant seeds in the reclaimed fields. Taryn helped, carefully covering each seed with soil. The survivors worked together, rebuilding homes and planting gardens, a symbol of life, hope, and a future free from oppression. Elias Vance looked down from orbit, a quiet smile on his face. Humanity had survived the worst, fought bravely, and triumphed. The stars above shimmered in silence, but below, the human spirit burned brighter than ever. "They thought they could destroy us," Elias whispered. They thought they could extinguish humanity. They were wrong, and they will never forget it. The end humanity had reclaimed its colonies, defeated the Zarvok Empire's leadership, and proven the power of courage, intelligence, and resilience. Attacking a human colony had been the first mistake of the Zarvok. Underestimating the ingenuity, adaptability, and unwavering spirit of humans was their second and final mistake. And as humanity looked to the stars, it knew one truth above all. No force in the galaxy could break the human spirit. Not now, not ever.